Ready to embrace the magical side of life, where anything is possible and the infinite is accessible to all? Let's have a conscious conversation about what's going on in the world, in your life, and your relationship from the expanded perspective of your soul. The path to awareness begins and ends in the heart. So let's take it there, one step at a time, and learn to cultivate magic in your life every single day. In each episode, we share a collective space in which we discover the unique facets of our own magic and embody our superhuman qualities by humbly exploring how it's super simply to be human. Hosts Kai and Dell co-create a magical experience to remind you that you are magical as fuck. Now, be unleashed. This is our daily magic.
All right, and we're live. Is the voice okay? Everything good? I sound good? I sound fine, Liz?
Yeah,
All right.
sounds great. What a fantastic intro.
Thank you. Thank
you. Blown away. Beautiful.
And hello to the magical beings that are here live as well with us. This is going to be another magical conversation, and we always deeply appreciate each and every one of you for being here with us to create some magic. So welcome to our Daily Magic Podcast, and I am excited for this powerful magical guest who's going to share her amazing journey of how she discovered her own magic. And we're going to have some pretty interesting questions because I'm going to save it, but we have something in common as well, synchronistically, and I was waiting for this conversation to have it. So I'm definitely going to be asking questions for a friend, aka me, in regards to your own journey. But I'm excited. So let's really get into it. And for those of you here, your comments, your questions, always appreciated. This is going to be an engaging, flowy, magical conversation here. So I'm one half of the host, Dell, and
I'm Kai. And I have the honor and pleasure to introduce Liz Peterson. Liz is an advanced, intuitive, energy healer, Reiki Master, spiritual coach, podcaster, and the author of the best-selling book, Mom Died Last Night, My Shared Death Experience, a memoir of death, grief, and afterlife communication. Liz uses her personal journey of healing, transformation, and empowerment to serve the highest good of all. She is also a psychic oracle, doing readings locally and remotely. She is also the host of Raise the Vibe with Liz podcast. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you so much, Kai. Thanks for that introduction. I do want to make one slight little correction. So my book is not a bestseller yet, but I am manifesting that. So thank you for putting that out to the universe. I appreciate that.
There is a reality that exists that's already done. So
yes,
we're going to be talking from that space.
I love that.
So,
questions.
I'll get to the question. So you have a plethora of magical tools at your disposal. And I would love to know, how did your journey begin to picking up all these different magical tools that you have at your disposal?
Wow, great question. I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning. When I was little, I was born with gifts, could see spirit, could walk into a room and feel the energy, knew when someone was upset, couldn't understand why there was so much hatred in the world and why people could do bad things. I had an experience when I was younger, after my grandmother died, where my sister and I were asleep in our beds, and I wake up in the middle of the night, of course, around 2 or 3 in the morning, and I see her sitting, next to my sister's head by the pillow, and there was a window between our beds, and the moonlight was shining in on her, and she turned to me and went, shh, put her finger up to her mouth, and just, under the covers I go, nervous. And I grew up in Maryland, Cambridge, Maryland, which is very haunted. And our house was haunted. We had a bunch of stuff going on, doors would open, footsteps. The last one, when we moved out of the house, the water spigot was just turned on, and my sister got home from work, and the whole bathroom was steamy with the hot water. And another occasion in that house where I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm about 10 years old, and there's a black shadow next to my bed. It raises its arms above its head and comes down on my solar plexus, and I'm like lurching forward in bed, and air is escaping my body, and I'm yelling for my mom. And that's really, I went through a phase where I turned it off after that. So that scared me, put me into fear that if I, practiced my gifts or did anything at all, that this, darkness was going to show up in my life again. So I did turn it off until my 20s, when it naturally started coming back on again. So through study and practice, massage therapy, polarity therapy, shamanic healing, and then my 4-year program that I found in my late 20s, which was Barbara Brennan's Hands of Light work, which deals with the chakras and the auras, and working with different objects in the field, and really getting into shadow work back then, and inner child work and wounding. Yeah, it really helped me to kind of hone my skills, my natural born skills that I had, and kind of reawaken them within me, and have me learn, okay, these are what my gifts are, these are my skills, and then how can I continue to grow those and hone those over the years, which I continue to do to this day.
Wow. That's a lot of study in the classroom and in the field.
Yes.
Of experience.
Yes, I've really been able, since I started my work in 2018, I opened up my practice. And since then, it's opened up from doing, separating my psychic work from my energy work, right? And then a couple of years later, into it, I'm like, okay, why am I holding back? Why am I playing small, right? I'm going to bring my psychic work into my energy work. So the first 30 minutes of my healings is that psychic work, that spiritual counseling, back and forth, because, I'm really was in a place where I'm like, okay, my energy work people, I don't really think that they can heal it or hear it, so I really kept it to myself. But I'm really happy that I stepped forward into my full self and brought that into my healing work as well. And my clients love it.
You made a pretty amazing point right there, especially with different modalities that people are doing and practicing for being a service of others. And I'm sure our audience can resonate with that as well. And just let us know in the comments if it does. But in regards to trying something out, like a different modality, not fully being who you are in your own unique flavor of doing it, what can happen is thinking, oh, I got to do it this certain way because I got taught to do it this way. And you stepped out of that box to step into your infinite box of who you are and apply your unique flavor with it, which is pretty powerful.
We've got a hello
Great
from
description.
Belgium.
Hello. Thank you. Yes, it really was powerful for me to be able to bring that gift into my healing practice, right? And it only made the healings better, right? I'm bringing in this intuition, being able to see things in the body that, normally I wouldn't bring up during a session. And, from things like having a client a few months ago who wore braces as a child, and I could feel and sense that. So asking her, did you wear braces as a child? Let's go ahead and clear this out. Or past lives coming in, a man came in and he's, had knee and ankle problems his whole entire life. And I'm like, I see that, you were in a war, you had your lower leg blown off, it was amputated. I saw him with the soldier's uniform on and the leg pinned up, behind him on crutches. And that was a really big like shift in his body from like that was then and this is now. Like he doesn't need to hold on to that, you know, significant thing that happened in that past life in this life. He doesn't need to bring it forward into this life and manifest it here. He can let that go.
Wait, I had to process that. The braces part.
Yes.
So was there energy work done in regards to the braces that needed to get like healing work done on that? Like what happened?
No, she just showed up for a normal session,
Okay.
you know, trying to figure out some digestive issues she was having and struggling with. And then this pops up. What happens during an energy healing session is you can come for one thing, but what ends up happening is you are working on that one thing that you're there for, but then other things come up to be healed. You know, like during our healing process where we're going along in therapy and we show up one day and we've got this topic and that's ready to be healed and moved on. Then you might show up the next week and there's a completely different thing that is arising and up for healing. So it's really whatever shows up during the healing we work on in addition to, you know, the intentions that we set at the beginning of the session.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's better. I thought like there was some like, because then I was like this contemplating that, like, it actually could potentially be like trauma with the braces. Because I had braces before when I was a kid. So I remember when they used to be so tight and I felt the pain from it being tight and I wasn't able to chew anything and it hurt. So I was just contemplating, do I have any like energetic trauma from that journey of having braces? I started contemplating that.
Interesting.
Yes, 100%. We energetically hold on to everything that we've experienced. I too wore leg braces as a child. My feet turned in when I was born, so they corrected, you know, that in my foot to make it straight again. And I still have times where energetically it'll pop up in my field, I like to say, where I'm looking down and I'm looking at my phone going, oh, that's interesting. Like, why am I holding my foot in this way? And then I do some energy work on myself and allow myself to release that. So we do hold on in our energy systems, whatever our past trauma was. Yes.
What are these similar experiences? You hold on to it.
I know. I'm allowing the journey to unfold here. You know, it's like this is a movie. We're co-directing a movie right now. It's a cool flow, but I'm gonna get there.
I eat dessert any time of day. It doesn't have to be after dinner.
I love that.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Live like you're in Paris. Eat dessert first. We can totally go there if that's the flow of the conversation. Let's do it.
Yeah, my little sugar cookie. All right. So, let's get into it now. So, all this happened in your journey up to 20. And one of the things we wanted to talk about is the experience that you experienced, which you actually wrote an amazing book about sharing a death experience. So, my curious question to you is, when you share that, did it also evolve what you were practicing to another level? It was already on a crazy level when you're mentioning, but then what was that experience like for you? I'd love to hear about that.
I'm going to say yes. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. So when my mom passed away, it was really devastating to me. I'd experienced loss in my life, but this was really something I was not prepared for. The depth of loss and how it affected me was completely different than the other losses that I had experienced. Not to minimize those losses, because they did affect me in their own way. But this was really a soul loss, like I talk about in the book. And it was a opening for me to communicate with my mother in a new way. And it happened almost right away during her death process. Even though I was kind of in denial, I didn't want her to pass away, I was really hoping for healing, I was having those subtle things popping in. My grandmother and my great grandmother, you know, I hear them in my head saying, we've got her. Now for me, like in the moment, I talk about this in the book also, like oh, they have her, they're helping her heal. She's going to come out of this. She's going to, get off the ventilator. This is going to be great. Right. And, in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, Liz, but this could be the other way. Like, we've got her. She's safe on the other side and at peace. Right. And of course, that's what it ended up being several hours later. Right. So as soon as my mother passed away, I started having that shared death experience continue. Not just that shared death experience that she was basically telling me that she's passed. My grandmother and great grandmother were telling me that we've got her. She's on the other side already. But also the after shared death experience where she almost immediately started sharing with me that she was still with me. My sister that lives in London texted me out of the blue. She never texts me in the middle of the night because she knows that I'm sleeping. And here she is texting me, I saw that, you texted me earlier, and how's your mom doing? Because we have different moms. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe you just texted me right now. I'm sitting in my car outside of the hospital not knowing what to do. Like, there's no ferries running right now since I live on an island, and I'm in shock. And I really think, that communication went beyond the veil, and she was able to reach my sister Kay, who she communicated with, when she was in the physical, and tell her, hey, get in touch with your sister. Then after getting off the phone with her, I'm driving down the road. I'm getting mental pictures of my mom. I'm seeing her younger, not at 85, but more like 50s, 40s and 50s, where her hair is longer and it's darker still. And then another image comes in my mind that she had talked about several months prior. She had seen these glass blown ornaments on Facebook, and she's like, wow, when I pass, I would really like that, because she loved blue. She loved collecting things from the sea. She had a couple of those round balls, that were different colors of blue. And she's like, that would be really great if you guys could take my ashes and make these ornaments for yourselves as keepsakes. And that's popping in my mind as I'm driving to the ferry boat. It continued the next day when I woke up in the afternoon. I'm sitting on the couch, and my mother's favorite bird was the hummingbird. She had a feeder outside of her house, and she used to watch the hummingbirds and have my sister, who took care of her, like, change the feeder all the time and make sure that they were okay. And, she would call me and tell me about the hummingbirds on the feeder. And sure enough, I'm sitting on the couch, and the sun is shining in on the wall and door in front of me. And lo and behold, there's a hummingbird shadow on the sun-drenched door in front of me. And I'm like, no way. It's like, you can't deny something like that. Like, that had never happened before. My humming feeders weren't out yet, because I had just moved a couple of weeks before. I looked to the side, and there's the hummingbird at the window. I couldn't believe it. And when you see something like that, and you think mom or dad or sister or brother or whoever it is that's passed over, that's the sign that lets you know this butterfly or this dragonfly or this hummingbird or that penny is related to that crossed over loved one that they are trying to communicate with you.
I love it. Before I get to my part, I'm curious now, because you mentioned how you thought when your grandmother said, we got her, you thought that the healing was going to be done. And I know you mentioned before you're already doing energy work and things like that. And how did it feel initially to be an energy worker, doing energy work, and it wasn't working the way that you were hoping for it to work in regards to your mother transitioning on?
Oh, good question. That was really hard. For one, it's hard to work on our family members because we're so close, right? So our emotions kind of can cloud that intuitive knowing. Like, when I look in the mirror, I can't see my aura, but I could see yours, right? When I'm looking at my mom, I might not see fully 100% what's going on because it's clouded by our relationship. I was trying to do, that energy work, my Reiki work on her. I was feeling, wow, this is low energy. My mind being in, that denial state, really wanted to think it was, the medicine, that they were giving her, instead of it being, okay, mom's left the building. She's with my mom and my grandmother on the other side. Did I try? Yes, of course. I tried. I did the energy work at her bedside and did the best. But there really is, when you're doing energy work, this knowing that you're a conduit for the energy, that you really have no control over what the energy does within the person. So it's a surrendering to the process. So it really was surrendering to, okay, this is my mother's state. This is what my desire is. But that desire, might not come true, because being a Reiki master, I also know that energy work and Reiki energy can help people pass too, because it's an energetic experience. It takes energy in order to pass away, in order to die. So I did have that, like, yes, I could be helping her pass over instead of helping her heal. So I just had to surrender to that and just be the conduit for the energy, however it manifested in my mother.
Wow. That's beautiful. And yeah, that surrender, one of the toughest things to do, I would say.
Yes, especially in that situation.
Oh, yeah. And the similarities that I wanted to mention is I dealt with something like that as well last year.
Wow.
In which the shared death experience of seeing that happen with the transition of my sister. And the same thing, I was trying to do the same thing as you with the healing, trying to force it to happen type of thing. And inevitably what happened was the transition. But then also I got you, I heard that. And the I got you that I heard was from my father, who transitioned on 3 years ago. And he came and I felt his presence. And then right when I felt his presence, that's when I actually witnessed the last breath happen. But then I knew that, okay, he got her. But then the confirmation that happened later on that day was with my father, when he transitioned on, blue jays started showing up. And when I came back from the hospital after witnessing that with my sister, a blue jay came to my window right here, and it was like that. But then it was another blue jay that came there, and then they both flew away. And I'm like, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have goosebumps, Dell. That is amazing.
Me too.
Well, I do want to say I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Yeah.
And that is amazing. And what confirmation that is, that our loved ones are still with us, right? That they're still on the other side. They're right there with us. They want to be with us. They want to help us. I'm sure your father was right there to take your sister's hand and usher her over to the other side into the light. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And that's the thing of surrendering as well, because like for me, I had like this hell-bent mindset, like, no, she's gonna get out of this. This is gonna happen type of thing. And I felt helpless. I felt like I didn't do enough. Like I really was judging myself. Like, here I am, this powerful being, I can't do something like that. So it was like a lot of judgment towards myself as well with it. And then, like you said, that surrendering point of realizing this was meant to happen. I played my part to allow this to happen as well, to like play out, but it happened the way it's supposed to happen. That's what I came to this point of realizing, that because it was meant to happen any other way, it would happen any other way, but this is the way that it happened in this present moment.
That is a fantastic realization and a fantastic walk to acceptance.
Yeah.
I didn't really fully accept that until after, when I was going through my grief process. I'm going over, okay, I should have done that. I should have talked to the nurse. I should have stayed longer. I should have done this. Shoulda, right? But then you come to that acceptance point, like you did, that surrender. I think that that's really beautiful.
Yeah. I got repetition 3 years ago, because I did all of that 3 years ago. So I was, okay, this actually prepared me for this moment. And for me, it's a great realization of this, how temporary this is, but then this inevitable pain that's going to happen in life moving forward as well. And I realize it's more so how you choose to be with it, as opposed to like trying to avoid it and things like that, which I've done as well. I will admit that.
Good description too, because it really is how we are with it, isn't it? And that's like, it's like that with every adversity in our life. Yeah. Like, how do we choose to handle it? What are we going to do? Are we going to continue to beat ourselves up? Are we going to go into a state of acceptance? Are we going to rise above the self-judgment? Are we going to do the healing work that's necessary to kind of lift ourselves up and kind of thrive, and instead of just kind of surviving that moment, where can we switch it to, so that survival mode to that thrive, moving past it and being able to sit with it with joyous, feeling joy, from our memories instead of feeling that pain, that we feel the first few months, after a loved one passes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing. You created this space to allow this sharing to happen. But like those shared death experiences are pretty transformational. Like even for you had a shared death experience that you experienced in Mexico, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Like how was that for you?
It was different. My initial experience of death was, when I was young, I had two people pass away. My great grandma passed when I was 5, and I would visit her every day in a nursing home. And then my aunt, who I grew up with, passed away when I was 11. And I spent 24 hours crying the day before she passed. And when I had this experience in Mexico, I was able to be with a cultural shift where they actually spend time with the body of the deceased. They wash the body, care for the body, dress the body. And my friend was singing to the body. And we literally saw after death, while she's singing, the body smiled.
Wow. Kai, that's amazing. What a beautiful cultural experience to have where you're able to be there like we used to practice in the United States years ago, but don't now unless we request it, right? Or we're in hospice at home and we can do that. What a beautiful experience to be able to caretake your loved one and be there and then have that shared death experience of the smile. That is amazing. Amazing. Wow.
So even between the three of us, just being present to the variety of experiences that we can have with our loved ones before they pass, as they pass, and just after is really magical.
I hope too that by sharing our stories that we help people who haven't experienced this at the depth that we have yet, and they can look back at what they heard from all three of us and be able to do things the way that they choose to do it instead of kind of going along with the status quo of what can normally happen when you're in a hospital or a similar situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That there are other ways to do things besides follow what they tell us to do, right?
This is why we're here.
Yes. And yeah, that's why I published the book, to start the conversation. And I'm so glad that I did. I've heard so many great stories like yours, and hopefully we'll continue to hear fabulous stories about people's shared death experiences and more, and their grief, what their experiences with their loved ones' deaths were. Yeah, I think it's important for us to start that conversation so we can go back to, those experiences where we do get to caretake our loved one, where we're sitting next to them as they pass away, where we're not in a rush, when they pass, that we sit with them and we take that time with them and we assist in their preparations, whether it's going to be a burial or a cremation, caretaking the body. I think that's part of, the grieving process, that healing process that comes after a loved one passes, that can be, kind of taken away from us in a way. So we're left with our grief on our own instead of being able to get that closure, I guess, by spending that time that you both were gifted. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the cool things, which is going to be a perfect segue in this conversation, is the conversation that happens beyond that. So we'd love to hear your stories of this communication, the relationship you have with your mother since her transition, and the way that you communicate and the way she communicates to you.
Thanks. Lots of ways. It really was a beautiful opening for me with my mother. I had experienced it before with clients, but having my mother pass away and have that so strong experience with her afterwards, where she was really showing me like hour after hour, day after day, that she was present with me, really opened up that connection even more. I even spoke with her like before she passed away. Hey mom, I can communicate. So when you pass on, try to communicate with me. I'm going to listen. I'm going to know it's you. Right. And she did, she had butterflies and birds and coins, and I've had dreams with her, those dream visitations that we get when our loved ones pass away. They come and communicate with us, and whether they're just sitting there in the dream or trying to give us a message, they're letting us know that they're still a part of our lives. I used to wake up when she first passed away. I woke up with song lyrics in my head, and it wouldn't be the whole song, like an earworm, as they say, right? But just little snippets of the song. And I share this in the book too, the many lyrics that I woke up with, and I would jot them down and what the significance was to me. And continuing on, like in my practice, like when I do these, she shows little signs that she's here during this process. Yesterday I was doing an interview, and a butterfly flew by the window, and it's like, oh, she's here. And another woman, I'm doing an interview, and she says this breeze came through and knocked over this thing on her desk as we're doing the interview, and she's like, your mom is here. And like, she is always here, always showing me that she's present, and working with me. She's the one that actually got me to write this book. I really feel it was channeled from her, sort of like impressing on me to write the book. I just really felt compelled. I didn't know why. I journaled, I have tons of journals from workshops and stuff like that, but wouldn't have thought, except for like maybe at night writing down what my emotions were, right? But it wasn't just, okay, at night, sit down with your journal and write down your emotions. It was write down everything that's happened, and write down everything that you're feeling, and write down everything that's going to happen. So that's what I did. And that's how this book was born. It was really like channeled through me from her, I feel like impressing on me to write. And it continues.
That you had that agreement.
Right? Who knew we were going to have that agreement? I think it's fantastic. I have my intro in my book talks about how I'm on a plane, and I all of a sudden had something dawn on me. So my mother and I, before she passed away, had similar dreams. She calls me one day and she goes, I had a dream that you had twins. And I called her back a couple days later. I'm like, you're never going to believe this. I had a dream that I had twins. And throughout the process of this book, I continued to have the dreams. In dream interpretation, having being pregnant or birthing is birthing a new idea into the world. So my mom has actually been in this birthing of the book process since before she passed away, without us even realizing it. Yeah. So it's just amazing how spirit can show up in our lives. I like it. It's like, I feel that's the magic in my life, is how source shows up, how spirit shows up, how God shows up in my life.
That's beautiful. This whole conversation has been beautiful. And wow.
Yes, I'm really having a good time talking to you both. I'm really enjoying our conversation. You ask great questions, and I love your stories.
Yeah. And that's what I love, like, when synchronicity happens all the time. But then when we become aware of it, of us sharing our own journeys and our own stories, it blended together for this amazing, powerful conversation that we're having right now. And that relationship dynamics of someone close to you transitioning on, also just using the grief as well, the grieving process, in a way to benefit you. I was calling it, for me, the term grieving with peace. So grieving and peace, using that in a peaceful way of using that to transform what I need to transform in my life. Because like with the first experience I had, it really got me in perspective. Hey, you're not living a life that is in alignment with you. And I was waiting to do that. Oh, I can do it later on. And that pandemic is showing like that later may not come.
Right? Yeah, I had that same experience. Thank you for sharing that. After my mom passed away, I'm like, okay, no more waiting anymore for that perfect day or that perfect moment or anything. Go for it. Life is short. It really, like when we experience those deaths in our lives, really change our perspective. Lockdown with the pandemic really changed everybody's perceptions on a global level, right? It was like a global awakening to what is important to me. You know, how do I want to live my life? And what does my life look like moving forward? You know, what do I want? Do I want to be in this 9 to 5? No, I've just got shown that I can do this from home and be with my family. Like, this is a game changer, right? So these losses and pandemic, everybody experienced so much loss that that collective loss that I don't think people realize happens. Like, everybody's collectively grieving still, the loss of life. But there's also that silver lining where we get to communicate like this more, right? We're communicating with people around the globe. We're becoming more of like one society instead of separate societies. We have that shared humanity, that shared experience now that brings us closer together, which is so important. Yeah.
It's definitely a historical reference point.
Definitely.
Right? Something that is not yet, or maybe it is in the history books, but that we actually experienced and get to be with.
Yeah. Oh. There are no accidents. There's no accidents. The universe is like, yes.
Yeah. I think that was it right there. Yeah.
Love that.
And I love that you're talking, Liz, about how you've integrated your various superpowers, be it, being able to read energy and channel energy. I'm curious though, how did you come to the conclusion that they actually could be separated or should be separated in the first place?
I think I want to ask for clarification on that question. What could be separated?
I think you were specifically talking about like Reiki and readings.
Oh, yes. Yeah, where I was doing the readings and keeping that separate from the energy work. Yeah, I kept it all to myself. Like everything that I picked up, in the past, like when I was working on somebody, I didn't know if they would be able to hear me, if they would think I was just too woo-woo for them, during the healing process. So I really kept it to myself. But then I'm like, well, shoot, why am I doing this? Maybe they need to hear this. Obviously I'm being told this for a reason, or I'm feeling this for a reason. It's not just for me. This is for my client. So I need to be brave and step out of my comfort zone and share the information that I'm actually getting. And I'm so glad that I did, because it's completely transformed my practice. It's transformed my clients' healings, have been taken to a new level. Now they're really appreciative of the information that I bring in, and the layers that they're able to peel off and the distance that they're able to go in their healings and how they're feeling much better afterwards. Yeah, being able to dive deeper. I'm really glad that I was able to do that. Just bring in they're not for me. They're for you. Let me be the conduit. Let me be the channel for what the universe wants me to tell you, right? What the universe wants you to know. Yeah. It's been powerful ever since. I'm really glad I did it. Really glad I stepped out of my comfort zone and kind of took off my woo-woo mask. again. Validation. Everybody take off your masks, literally, and be you. Don't be afraid to be you. Your magic is needed on the planet. Yeah.
Is it more effortless to be a conduit and allow it to fully express through you as opposed to holding it back and fully expressing through you?
Yes. And I found that when I stopped holding back, it just became more of a flow. An ease started to happen, a flow started to set in, one thing led to another, and then that transferred into my daily life too. So if we allow ourselves to not block ourselves and we get into that flow, we have more synchronicities, more coincidences, more doors opening for us. It becomes like a space of non-resistance. So we're able to move forward with that grace and that ease and just follow one little breadcrumb after another. And that's also kind of a beautiful space to be in. I love it. I always encourage everybody else to do it too. Yeah.
Those breadcrumbs.
That's what you like to call it, right?
Yeah. I love that term and love the experience of creating surprise and magic.
Me too.
It feels like a co-creation, right?
It really is a co-creation. Yeah, it's not just us. Universe, God, source is just waiting for us to kind of surrender to our intuition, surrender to these ideas, and be in co-creation with it. Like, it's not just us steamrolling forward, trying to push our way through life. Like, that's an old paradigm. We don't need to do that anymore. We can step into this co-creation of life, this flow that we can get into. It's so much more magical than before, right? Because then you're like, oh, that was easy, right? Before it was so hard, like trying to just steamroll everything. Do it, get it done, right? No, that's like so uncomfortable. And, so out of like, you're not in flow in that state. You're just pushing down the walls and pushing the doors down. It's way easier if you're just following your intuition and following the little breadcrumbs, like we like to say, one thing after another, and this beautiful unfolding of life happens. Yeah. I enjoy it. It's magic. I love it.
It's like you said, paradigm shift that's happening. And I love what you guys said, co-creation. Because like what came to me in this flowing co-creation space I'm in was like, the co-creation is already happening. It's always happening. How aware are you of it happening? And what life is helping you do is become more aware of what's already happening. But also with the more effortless thing, a lot of us can believe that, oh, it has to be hard. You gotta work hard to get this done. Yeah, go. It is not real success if it came too easy. I'm like, huh? Really?
Right? Who gave us that belief system?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's so easy when we surrender. Do we have to have action? Totally. Of course. There has to be action. There has to be like that masculine energy action with that feminine energy flow, following the intuitive state. And when they come together and marry together, it's like this perfect harmony that happens where, the universe gives us stuff and then we act on it and we see what happens. And then we get a new little piece and we act on that and follow it. And then before we know it, our life is opening up and we have all of these great experiences coming into our lives. And all we're doing is surrendering to the process.
So it's not like the movie The Secret when you just sit there and I dream of a Lamborghini and Lamborghini doesn't show up in my.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh man.
Unfortunately, I found that it shows up the way that we can receive it in our lives, right? We may be dreaming about that Lamborghini, but it might show up as our kid's Matchbox car until we can be open to receive it, right?
I mean, so funny. Like you just think about that and you're ding dong, and then there's a little Lamborghini like race car sitting there.
That's great.
You didn't specify it.
I joke too that you have to actually like really be careful what you say to the universe too. And I've learned this since like 2018, 2019, because I'll give you a really funny example. So I used to work in the restaurant business, and the girls were talking about sugar babies. And I'm like, what? That's actually a thing? And I'm like, I want to be a sugar baby. And then, I'm on the dating files and going on different dates. And I have this man show up in my life whose love language is gifts. So granted, I'm too old to be a sugar baby and I don't want a sugar daddy, but here, out of my mouth comes that, I would like this energy in my life. And here shows up this man that I start to date whose love language is gifts. So it's funny how like our words have power, right? And I learned after that, I'm like, okay, be careful what I'm putting out into the world, because the universe is listening and it's going to give me more of what I'm thinking about and more of what I'm talking about. And was kind of a funny example for me. The universe was like, okay, be careful what you say, be careful what you put out there, because we'll give it to you, but it might not look the way, you want it to look, right? It's going to show up the way that you're ready to receive it.
And that's the fine print right there. Oh yeah, you'll get what you want, but you're gonna get it in a way that you are the space you're in to receive it. And also, I always feel like what I believe too is like let's say a specific outcome you're looking for and it's not here yet. It's like the way the universe is helping to prepare you to actually receive that, or maybe even the universe say, "Hey, I got something bigger. Surrender to me." Surrender and co-create, and you can get something way beyond you can even imagine right now.
Yes, I love that. I wholeheartedly believe in that too. And living it like you have it. What does that feel like to you? Your big magical life where you have everything your heart desires, right? What does your rich life look like? To put it simply, I've started doing manifestation practices, kind of like upping my game and really feeling what it would feel like to have that already, visualizing, what it looks like to have that already, living my life like it's already in presence, like, am I maxing my cards? Of course not. I'm not being like silly about it, right? I'm staying within my means. But I've started having stuff manifest where I'm getting bumped all the time on my flights to first class. That didn't happen before. I started doing these manifestation practices, or really feeling or seeing that I am this. So it comes into my life in magical ways. Am I living that all the time? No. Right? Is it coming into my life, and is, God or source or the universe showing me, hey, this is what it looks like. It's like being in the flow, like feeling it and living it. And I don't need $1 million, but I can live $1 million life. Right? And be grateful for it. And it's leading with that gratitude. It's like, thank you. Like, my money works for me every time I pay a bill or go to the grocery store. Thank you for working for me, money. Right? Thank you for the upgrade. Like, I am super grateful to be having like breakfast served to me on my way to Arizona right now. Right? Yeah, those magical moments where you're like, thank you. I am in gratitude, this and more. Yeah.
Appreciation.
Yes.
Like, so we both read a book or listened to a book recently. I don't know if you heard of this book before. It's called Busting Loose from the Money Game by Robert Seinfeld. And the thing about it is not about money. But he was talking about appreciation for those little things, shifting your relationship with it. So like when you get a bill, say, oh my God, why I got this bill again? Actually be appreciative that you actually can be able to pay it. You're actually able to have the means to be able to do that. But also those little moments of appreciation, it adds up. And then the more you can add up to it, the more you'll get more into your life, the more things to appreciate.
I love that. I'm going to jot that down and put that on my reading list. I love that too, because we can have like that gratitude in our life, right? When we pay our light bill, I am so grateful that I have power in my house. When we pay our mortgage, I am so grateful that I have this house, that it provides me safety and security and warmth in my life. just looking at it that way instead of it being a burden just opens us up, right? And it changes our mindset. And I think it's really our mindset when you boil down to what is manifestation and what is living a life of joy. It's our mindset, because you can choose negativity, but it's way healthier, in the long run and for your life to choose that positive aspect of the mind instead of always going to the negative and getting kind of stuck on the hamster wheel all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got comments.
Go for it.
Hey, Peter. Peter is a person who shows up on a live a lot. Definitely appreciate him being here. Let's see. The way I seem to perceive and become intuitive is to meditate to music, and the force comes to me. Sounds like some Jedi stuff to me.
100%. Meditate, meditate, meditate. And that's something that spirit has always impressed on me, is to meditate ever since my 20s, even when I didn't want to do it, or I'm like, I have to sit here and I have to meditate. There's so much more I could be doing right now. But the one thing that keeps on coming back over and over and over again over the years is meditate, meditate, meditate. I just took a transcendental meditation course just last week to kind of up my meditation game, right? And I'd already had a mantra practice and a sutra practice and yoga practice. And, it gave me a new avenue, one with ease. And then it increased my meditation from, in the morning to in the morning and the afternoon, right? To have that 20 minutes to just sit with myself in the peace and quiet and do my mantra. And it's sitting in the power for, if you can see spirit and you want to do mediumship, they have a meditation called Sitting in the Power. And that's where you sit and you expand your energy and allow spirit's energy to blend with yours. And that's how we're able to make that connection with our loved ones, is to just sit and be still and get quiet, increase our energy, and allow source energy, spirit energy to blend with us and actually come to us. It's a raising of our vibe and a lessening of their vibe to come down to our level. So we're moving up a little and they're coming down, then we can make that connection. And that connection just gets stronger and stronger with meditation. So always recommending meditation, and source is always recommending meditation to me. Yeah. 100%.
Love it. Let's see the next one. I also heard the term sugar buddies.
That's great.
When we walking, New Orleans, Bourbon Street. We were just there.
I was just there too for Jazz Fest. Woo!
Oh, cool.
Loved it. I had such a great time. Oh my gosh, the French Quarter is crazy. And it is full of spirit. When I stayed in the French Quarter for 2 nights, when the festival was over, and when I checked into my room, spirits were like sticking their head through the wall, like, who's in the room now? Right? And I'm like, oh, that's cute. I've never seen that before. And then there was a fan going in the room, and then they had the noise machine next to the bed because it's really noisy in the French Quarter, right? So I turned that on, and at 3:00 in the morning, the fan starts going, like, moving back and forth. And then there's, how when ghost hunters, they have the spirit box, and it's like, has the static and you can hear some stuff. The sound machine next to the bed started to do that. And really, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to sleep. Just leave me alone. Going back to sleep now. Yeah, they were really active in New Orleans.
Got it. Peter is wowed. And thank you for being here, Peter. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. That was fun.
And Peter says, you don't know how much I feel good for showing up in this Zoom, and I connect spiritually with others. I've gone back to basics and gone to Zoom AA meetings. Yes, this is the area where I feel more comfortable. A different mindset with these 2 avenues.
Yes. Congratulations. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. So Liz, if someone wanted to connect with you, how would you suggest for them to do so?
So they can find me on my website, raisethevibewithliz.com, and any information, how to work with me, my podcast, my book, you can find it all on raisethevibewithliz.com. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. Any parting words for our live audience and for those who will listen to the recording?
Well, I have loved our conversation so much, Kai and Dell. It's been such a pleasure to talk with both of you and to hear your stories and to have this co-creation with you. So thank you for the collaboration. I really appreciate it. And I just want to encourage everybody, follow your intuition. It has changed my life. Gain a sense of trust with yourself, allow yourself to follow it, follow those breadcrumbs, and create a beautiful, magical life for yourself.
The beginning intuition's into it. So be into it.
Yes, I love that.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, everyone who's watching and listening. We appreciate you, and
stay magical.
You've been listening to our Daily Magic Podcast with Kai and Dell. Please like, subscribe, and tune in next week for another magical episode. Visit www.ourdailymagic.com for more. Thank you for listening and have a magical day.